Hello, parents. My name is Miss Cahill, and this presentation is going to review Honors Senior English with me this year through the 2021 through 2022 school year. Throughout this presentation, I will go over some of the basics about the course, grading practices, give you a little bit of information about me, and at the end of the presentation, you will see my contact information in case you have any additional questions. So let's get started. So here's a little bit of information about me so that you can know more about who's teaching your child this year. So I've been at West Hill High School for 8 years, and hopefully I'll be here for quite a few more. I'm a very proud dog mom, so you'll hear me talk about that all the time during class. I also love all things related to food, all things related to entertainment, and so those will work their way into conversations as well. I'm really enthusiastic about trying to stay organized in my classes. I find that makes it easier for my students to follow what's happening. And so my Google Classroom, my worksheets, everything that I try to do, I try to make sure all of my instructions are clear, all due dates are clear, all grading policies are clear, so that no one is confused when things move forward about what's expected of them. I'm also all about trying to include a positive and inclusive environment in my classroom. And so I ask that my students always help me see through with that goal. All right, so in Honors Senior English, we will be covering the things that are listed on this slide here. We're going to examine both literature and nonfiction through a variety of different mediums. So we'll be writing, we'll be talking, we'll be discussing, we'll be reading, and our focus is always on the 4 C's, which are critical thinking, which is asking questions about the world around you, creativity, thinking outside the box, communication, being able to talk to one another effectively and in writing, and collaboration, being able to work together. Throughout the year, they're going to produce timed and process writing pieces. So timed would be during a single class period or a few class periods. Process would be through multiple steps of revision. And the goal is to strengthen their skills as a 21st century learner. All students are required to bring the materials listed here. They'll need either a binder or a notebook for this class, a folder, a laptop or tablet, which is provided by the school unless they choose to bring in their own, pens and pencils and highlighters and post-it notes, whatever they use to keep themselves organized, and then, of course, whatever we're reading together. Throughout the year, we're going to cover several texts together. Our first book is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which we are in the process of reading right now. But we may also read other books listed here, such as Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, No Boy by John Okada, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, and Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. We'll also look at selections of British poetry that's a little bit more modern-ish, 1850 to 1950. And then we'll look at some nonfiction works as well throughout the course of the year. The grading for this course is on this slide here, and grading is broken into 2 categories. There are formative assessments, which are the day-to-day activities that your child does during class with their learning in progress, and summative assessments, which come toward the end of a unit where they're being tested on their learning in some way. There are some examples of different types of assignments just to help you conceptualize what these different categories mean. Formative assessments make up 30% of their overall grade, and summative assessments make up 70% of their overall grade. As far as formative assessments go, all work is graded using a holistic rubric. And I do take late work, but I only accept it if we haven't moved on from that content. I tell my students I don't like to assign work just to assign work. The work is moving toward a goal. So if we've already reached that goal through a summative assessment and it's no longer valuable for you to make up that assignment for the unit that we're in, I'm going to not accept it anymore because I want you to focus on what we're doing in the present time. For summative assessments, I will usually accept late work for that as well, but since we have a long time to work through those and because they have plenty of notice on those assignments, I do take late points off for that work. Now, if a student needs an extension on any assignment, they are always welcome to talk to me and advocate for themselves. I just ask that they do that prior to the due date of the assignment. And assignments will be submitted through different mediums. So some assignments will be submitted through Google Classroom. Some assignments may be submitted on paper during class, and other assignments may be submitted to turnitin.com or other online resources that your child will use in this class. As I said in a previous slide, I like to try and stay very clear and organized, so there should never be any confusion about where something should be submitted. And if anything, if your child's confused or if you're confused, you can always reach out to me via email at any time, and I can try and clarify for you. This slide here is going to show you the other rules that your child is expected to follow when they are in our classroom. First, students are required to dock their phones in an assigned caddy slot during class. So if you look behind me, you will see this big caddy here for cell phones, and there are little cards on each slot. Those cards have their names on them, so they put their phone in their assigned caddy slot at the start of class, and then they pick it up at the end of class when they're finished with their work. The reason for doing that is to minimize distractions with the phones. They have most things that they need on the computer, so there's really no reason for the cell phone in the classroom. That being said, if there's some kind of an emergency and your child needs to keep their phone on their person, all they have to do is let me know, and then they can keep it, and I'll make a little note to not dock them points for that. The reward for putting their phones in the caddy every single day without needing to be reminded personally is a few extra points at the end of the quarter, which is always nice. Students are also expected to arrive to class on time every single day, and of course, they should be prepared. So if your child is going to be late to class, they should be bringing a pass from wherever they're coming from. If they're absent, they should be documenting that using the appropriate form provided by our Dean of Students, Mr. Pasmino. And if they need to stay home because of quarantine, either they were suffering from COVID themselves, or perhaps they were exposed and are waiting for testing to come back, I can live stream our class for them from home if they're well enough to participate, or they can participate through Google Classroom. If your child needs to be out for a quarantine, I just ask that they reach out to me, let me know what's going on, so that we can work out a plan that works for both of us. And then, of course, since we are in the middle of the pandemic, your child should be wearing their mask properly every day, not only in this classroom, but also when they walk in the halls as well. Throughout the year, your child is going to need to use a variety of online resources, which are listed on this slide here. I've created a class website, which will be helpful because it's a place to store audiobook files if they need those or prefer to read with those. I also will have other different resources to support the reading process on that website. Google Classroom will probably be the most used resource, and that's where I put the formative assessments like day-to-day assignments. Turnitin.com will primarily be used to submit longer works like summative assessments, such as papers and projects. And then PowerSchool should be used to keep up with grades, not only for your child, but also for you as well, because you do have access as a parent. If you're not on PowerSchool yet and you still need access, you should contact Ms. Letson, who's our technology support specialist, at the email here. And especially contact her if you still have not completed the acceptable use policy form, since that is how your child can get a computer and maintain access to their accounts. All right, so that pretty much covers all of the basics of this course. But if you have additional questions, you can contact me via email here at scahill@stanfordct.gov. This email, scahill@stanfordpublicschools.org, is really just an internal email address for your child to contact me. And then if you want to schedule a meeting to talk more in depth, send me an email here at the stanfordct.gov address, and we'll set up a meeting either electronically or in person. That concludes this presentation. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your open school night. Bye-bye.